The Great Pyramid stones fit together with a precision that defies modern logic. How could ancient builders achieve such accuracy without lasers or computers? This journey uncovers the forgotten science behind their construction, revealing a sophisticated understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering that has been lost for millennia. By the end, you will see these ancient wonders not as primitive tombs, but as the pinnacle of a lost technological age. We will explore how they encoded complex constants into stone and aligned massive structures with the stars using only simple tools. What single quality do you believe was most essential for such an impossible achievement? These geometric patterns were the architectural blueprints of the ancient world. A master builder would not simply draw a square or a triangle in the sand, but a complex web of interlocking shapes, each one believed to resonate with the fundamental order of the cosmos. This was sacred geometry, and it was treated as a precise and practical science. The builders were encoding mathematical constants directly into the stone. The ratio known as pi, the relationship between a circle's circumference and its diameter, is found in the Great Pyramid's perimeter relative to its height. The golden ratio, a proportion revered for its aesthetic perfection, is woven throughout the structure's dimensions. Researchers like John Anthony West argued this was not a coincidence, but a deliberate act of high engineering. The pyramid's base perimeter, for example, relates to the circumference of our planet itself, scaled down by a factor of 43,200. This reveals an intention far grander than just building a tomb. It was about mirroring the universe on Earth. This application of geometry did two things at once. It created an incredibly stable structure, distributing immense weight with perfect balance, and it infused the building with profound symbolic meaning. Form and function were completely inseparable. The harmony we perceive in these ancient structures stems directly from this rigorous mathematical foundation. It makes you wonder, how would our modern cityscapes change if we reintegrated these timeless principles of cosmic proportion? But these perfect designs on paper required equally perfect tools to become a reality. Precision on this scale began not with the stone, but with the ground beneath it. Before a single block was set, ancient surveyors faced the monumental task of laying out a perfectly square base, spanning over 13 acres, and aligning it with the cardinal directions with an error of less than 1/15 of a degree. Their toolkit was deceptively simple. A forked stick called a merkit with a plumb line suspended from it became a celestial sighting instrument. By observing the transit of specific stars, a priest astronomer could mark true north with breathtaking accuracy. For creating perfect right angles, they likely used a groma, a cross-shaped instrument with hanging weights that established straight lines and 90-degree intersections. Historians like Mark Lehner have demonstrated that these methods, combined with digging water-filled trenches to act as giant levels, allowed for a precision that rivals modern engineering. The simplicity of these tools is the very heart of their genius. It was not a lack of technology, but a masterful optimization of the resources at hand. The ropes, the water, the stars themselves were all part of their sophisticated instrument array. This foundational work, invisible in the final magnificent structure, was arguably the most critical phase of the entire project. With the site perfectly square, level, and aligned to the cosmos, the stage was set for the next incredible act. The builders then began to encode a hidden mathematical language directly into the rising stone, a language of constants and ratios that spoke to a deep understanding of the universe. The stone itself holds a silent numerical conversation. The Great Pyramid's height stands in a precise relationship with its perimeter, a ratio that mirrors 2 times pi. This means the perimeter divided by the height gives you a number incredibly close to twice the circumference of a circle, with a radius equal to the pyramid's height. This is not a vague approximation, it is a deliberate architectural choice, a mathematical truth set in stone. The builders embedded the golden ratio as well, a proportion of about 1.618, found throughout nature in the spiral of a nautilus shell or the arrangement of sunflower seeds. This number appears in the pyramid's floor plan and the angles of its inner passages. Researchers like Graham Hancock argue this encoding was a dual-purpose act of genius. On a practical level, these specific ratios distributed the pyramid's colossal weight with unparalleled efficiency, granting it a structural resilience that has endured for millennia. On a spiritual level, they were stamping the very laws of the cosmos onto a human monument, creating a permanent link between the earth and the heavens. The placement of the king's chamber, for instance, and the precise angles of the descending and ascending corridors all resonate with these constants. Such precision forces a profound question. How did they compute these values without the aid of modern calculators or even a comprehensive written numerical system? Their mathematical prowess was so advanced it feels alien to our historical timeline. This deep numerical understanding, however, would have been useless without an equally profound knowledge of the very rocks they were shaping. The sound of a copper chisel striking limestone would have echoed for miles. Teams of workers, using little more than stone dolerite balls and copper tools, faced the monumental task of freeing blocks weighing several tons from the living rock. Their skill was not in overpowering the stone, but in listening to it. They learned to read the natural fracture lines in the quarry, guiding their cuts to minimize waste and effort. Egyptologist Zahi Hawass details a brilliant technique where they would hammer wooden wedges into pre-cut fissures and then soak them with water. As the wood swelled, it generated immense controlled pressure, cleanly splitting the granite or limestone along the desired plane. This was not brute force, it was applied physics. The result was a seemingly endless supply of uniformly sized blocks, the very ones that would later lock together in the pyramid's core with those impossibly tight joints. But a perfectly cut block in a quarry is useless if it cannot reach the building site. The logistical nightmare then began. How do you move a 2.5-ton block of limestone, thousands of them, across miles of desert and river? The organization required was as impressive as the engineering. This challenge demanded another leap of ancient ingenuity, pushing them to develop methods for moving the unmovable. Hundreds of laborers, ropes taut and muscles straining, would have moved a colossal stone slab across the desert. The key to their success was not just brute strength, but a clever trick with the very ground beneath their feet. Recent experiments have confirmed that dampening the sand in front of a wooden sled dramatically reduces friction, allowing a small team to pull a weight that would be immovable on dry ground. This simple act of pouring water transformed the sand into a hard, slick surface, a practical application of physics that made the impossible routine. For the heaviest blocks, some weighing up to 80 tons, they employed a suite of ingenious methods. Wooden rollers acted as primitive wheels, distributing the immense weight. Levers provided minute adjustments, and specially constructed earthen ramps, remnants of which have been found at Giza, created a gradual ascent to the ever-growing pyramid. Egyptologist Bob Breyer points out that this entire system was a masterpiece of logistics. It required precise coordination to keep the stones moving, to prevent catastrophic accidents, and to ensure a steady supply reached the base of the construction. This was an industrial-scale operation running on human power and profound intelligence, but moving a multi-ton block to the base of the pyramid is one thing. How did they then lift it, story by story, to its final position hundreds of feet in the air? The answer lies in the very structure they were building, a puzzle of ramps and counterweights that turned the pyramid into its own construction machine. A spiraling earthen ramp would have coiled around the pyramid like a colossal serpent, its packed mud-brick surface grooved by the countless sleds dragged upwards by teams of laborers. This was the great inclined highway of the ancient world, a temporary but essential structure that transformed an impossible vertical climb into a manageable, gradual ascent. Archaeologists have found remnants of these ramps at Giza, confirming their existence, but the exact configuration remains one of Egyptology's most heated debates. Some scholars, like Jean-Pierre Houdin, propose a radical internal ramp system, a corkscrew tunnel built within the pyramid's own core, which would have allowed workers to haul stones from the inside for the final stages of construction. His three-dimensional simulations show how such a design would solve the puzzle of building the upper levels without an external ramp of unimaginable size and material. Others argue for a single straight ramp or a zigzag design that scaled one face of the pyramid at a time. Each model required its own complex calculations of slope and material strength to ensure the ramp itself did not collapse under the constant, immense strain. These ramps were feats of engineering in their own right, built from readily available materials like mud-brick, limestone chippings, and desert clay, all engineered to bear thousands of tons of traffic. The ingenuity invested in these temporary structures reveals a profound truth. The pyramid was not just built with stone, but with an entire support system of brilliant, disposable engineering. This entire logistical network, however, relied on a single, vital resource to function. What role did water play beyond simply wetting the sand for sleds? The answer flows into the very foundations of the structure, where ancient builders mastered hydraulic engineering for a level of precision that still defies belief. A still, reflective surface of water became their most powerful tool for achieving perfection. While the ramps and sleds moved the stones, a more subtle challenge remained, ensuring the entire 13-acre foundation of the pyramid was flawlessly level. The solution was both elegant and brilliant. The builders dug a network of trenches that crisscrossed the entire bedrock base, then filled them with water from the Nile. This created a giant grid of natural levels. Because water always finds a perfectly horizontal plane, they could use simple sighting rods to measure the height of the water's surface at any point across the vast site. If one trench showed a different water level, workers would know exactly where to chip away at the bedrock or add fill to bring everything into perfect alignment. This method, proposed by engineers like Craig B. Smith, could achieve an accuracy within a few millimeters over distances that would stagger modern surveyors. It was a masterclass in applied physics, using the fundamental properties of a liquid to solve a monumental engineering problem. This same water network likely served a dual purpose, acting as canals to float stone-laden barges right to the construction site's edge. This hydraulic knowledge represents one of the earliest and most sophisticated applications of fluid dynamics in history. It transformed a chaotic, uneven desert plateau into a perfectly flat canvas, the absolute prerequisite for the geometric marvel that would rise above it. Yet, such a perfectly level foundation would be meaningless if the individual building blocks were not themselves cut with absolute precision. How could thousands of workers, spread across multiple quarries, consistently produce stones that fit together with such seamless accuracy? The answer lies not in a complex machine, but in a system of standardized templates and a relentless commitment to quality control. A razor blade cannot slip between the joints of the Great Pyramid's core stones. This legendary precision was born in the quarries, where artisans worked granite and limestone with a surprising toolkit of copper chisels and abrasive sand. Copper is soft, far softer than the granite it was shaping, so how did they manage? The secret was in the abrasive. By adding wet sand between the copper saw and the stone, they effectively created a primitive but incredibly effective power tool. The quartz crystals in the sand, harder than granite, did the actual cutting as workers rhythmically dragged the saw back and forth, gradually grinding through the impossibly hard stone with patient, relentless friction. This was not a quick process. A single block could take a team of workers weeks to free and shape. To ensure thousands of these blocks would fit together with that hair's breadth accuracy, they relied on a system of standardization. Master craftsmen likely created precise stone or wooden templates. A worker would repeatedly check their block against this template, grinding and polishing until the profile matched perfectly. Egyptologists point to a clever technique known as drafting, where the edges of the facing stones were subtly beveled. This created a V-shaped channel on the outer face that was later filled with a fine, white mortar. This mortar was not for adhesion, but for finishing. The real strength of the joint came from the incredible flatness of the interior surfaces, which locked together under the pyramid's own colossal weight. This interlocking system acted like a three-dimensional stone puzzle, distributing gravitational forces evenly throughout the entire structure and eliminating points of weakness. It was this perfect fit, this harmonious distribution of load, that granted the pyramids their legendary stability across thousands of years. But what about the material that held the outer casing stones or filled the gaps we cannot see? The secret to their enduring bond lies in the chemistry of the mortar itself. The mortar binding the Great Pyramid stones is a scientific marvel in its own right. Chemists analyzing samples have found it is not a simple paste, but a sophisticated blend of gypsum, lime, and other locally sourced materials. Its purpose went far beyond simple glue. The ancient builders engineered it for flexibility, creating a dynamic cushion between the massive stone blocks. When the ground shook during an earthquake, or when the desert sun heated the stone and the cool night caused it to contract, this special mortar allowed for microscopic movement. It absorbed these stresses instead of fighting them, preventing the rigid stone from cracking under the strain. This is a principle modern engineers call allowing for thermal expansion, and the pyramid builders understood it millennia ago. Materials scientists have discovered that some of this mortar contains unique crystalline compounds, likely created by heating limestone to a very specific temperature. This process, a form of ancient chemistry, produced a binder with a durability that arguably surpasses many modern concrete mixes. It is a material that has not just survived for 4,500 years, it has actively preserved the structure it holds together. This knowledge represents a lost chapter in material science, where the goal was not just to build for the present, but to engineer for eternity. Such mastery over the earthly elements of stone and mortar was only one part of their grand vision. To complete their cosmic blueprint, they needed to reach beyond the earth and lock their creation into the very fabric of the heavens. The night sky was their ultimate blueprint. High priests, acting as both spiritual leaders and master astronomers, would have spent countless hours tracking the slow dance of the constellations through simple yet effective sighting tubes made from reeds or hollowed wood. These instruments, the precursors to the telescope, allowed them to isolate a single star and chart its path with remarkable precision. Their target was not arbitrary. The southern shafts emanating from the king's chamber in the Great Pyramid point directly toward the belt of the constellation Orion, a region of the sky the ancient Egyptians associated with Osiris, the god of rebirth and the afterlife. This was more than an alignment, it was a cosmic statement, a belief that the pharaoh's soul would travel directly to the stars. The northern entrance corridor presents an even greater puzzle. It was aligned with such accuracy that it would have framed the pole star of its time, Alpha Draconis. This star is not our modern Polaris, and herein lies the true genius. The Earth's axis slowly wobbles over a cycle of 26,000 years, a phenomenon known as precession, which causes the pole star to change over millennia. The builders accounted for this. Their alignment proves they understood celestial movements on a timescale that dwarfs human lifespans, recording observations across generations. Researchers like Robert Bovell suggest these alignments served a dual purpose. Ceremonially, they connected the pharaoh to the eternal cycles of the cosmos. Practically, they functioned as a colossal calendar, marking solstices and equinoxes to guide the entire agricultural rhythm of their civilization. The pyramid was a stone clock, an observatory, and a spiritual gateway all at once. But such precise celestial engineering demanded more than just sighting tubes. It required a sophisticated way to measure the passage of time and the angles between the stars. So what other instruments did these ancient sky watchers possess to achieve such cosmic accuracy? A cubit rod, carved from wood or stone and standardized to the pharaoh's own forearm, was the fundamental unit of measure that brought order to the chaos of a massive construction site. This was not a rough approximation, a worker using his own arm for a quick check. It was an official physical standard, replicated and distributed to ensure that every single block cut in a quarry hundreds of miles away would fit perfectly with the block being shaped right at the pyramid's base. This system of metrology, the science of measurement, was the invisible framework upon which the entire geometric wonder was built. Alongside the cubit, builders used a tool called a bay, a notched stick that functioned like a primitive but highly effective ruler for taking smaller, more precise measurements. But perhaps the most ingenious device was the seat. This was not a complex instrument with gears and levels, but a simple set of standardized ratios, often represented by a notched wooden stick or even just memorized. The seat allowed a builder to calculate the exact slope of a pyramid's face, ensuring that all four sides rose at the same consistent angle to meet perfectly at the apex, hundreds of feet above the ground. Historians demonstrate that these tools were calibrated using the world around them. They used the consistent length of a shadow cast by a vertical pole at a specific time of day to verify their rods, or they used water-filled trenches as giant levels to confirm their horizontal lines. The true genius was in this systemization. It transformed abstract mathematical principles into physical, repeatable actions that thousands of ordinary workers could execute with flawless consistency. This mastery of measurement, however, would have been meaningless noise without an organizational structure capable of coordinating the efforts of tens of thousands of people. How did they manage a workforce larger than most modern cities without computers, radios, or even paper memos? A workforce of thousands requires a city to support it. Just beyond the Giza Plateau, archaeologists have uncovered the remains of a vast, purpose-built settlement, a city of the pyramid builders. This was not a haphazard camp, but a meticulously planned community with long, narrow streets of mud brick houses, massive communal bakeries capable of producing thousands of loaves of bread each day, and even facilities for treating injured workers. At the heart of this operation were the scribes, the ancient world's administrators. They meticulously tracked every resource, from the number of fish delivered from the Nile to the output of copper tools from the workshops, using a system of hieroglyphic records that functioned like a corporate ledger. The excavations led by Egyptologist Mark Lehner paint a picture of rotational labor where workers served in temporary crews, perhaps named after the pharaoh himself, like the Friends of Khufu gang. These teams would work in shifts for a set period before being replaced by a fresh crew from their home village. This system prevented burnout and maintained the high quality of work over decades of construction. The sheer logistics of feeding and housing this immense workforce was an achievement on par with the engineering of the pyramid itself. It required a supply chain that stretched across all of Egypt, a constant flow of grain, beer, and fish to fuel the human machine. This level of organization ensured that the master builders always had the right materials and the right number of hands in the right place at the right time, allowing for the precise execution of a plan of staggering complexity. But such a system raises a profound question. What motivated a person to leave their home and family for months of backbreaking labor in the desert sun? The answer lies not in the crack of a whip, but in the shared spirit of a civilization united by a common cosmic purpose. The true power that moved these stones was not in the ropes or the ramps, but in the shared belief of an entire civilization. For the ancient Egyptians, constructing a pyramid was far more than a royal construction project. It was a sacred duty, a cosmic act essential for the stability of the universe itself. They saw the pyramid as a recreation of the primeval mound, the first land to emerge from the waters of chaos at the dawn of creation. By building this sacred geometry in stone, they were actively participating in the ongoing order of the world, ensuring the sun would rise, the Nile would flood, and life would continue. The pharaoh was the linchpin in this divine system. His successful ascent to join the gods after death was believed to guarantee the kingdom's continued prosperity. This was not a vague spiritual idea, it was a matter of national survival. As scholar Eric Hornung explains, this profound spiritual impetus created a culture where precision was a religious obligation. A sloppy joint or a misaligned corridor was not just a construction error, it was a cosmic flaw, a crack in the very fabric of reality that could disrupt the harmony between heaven and earth. This belief system motivated the workforce on a level we can scarcely comprehend today. It transformed exhausting labor into a pious act, a direct service to the gods that would bring honor to their families and their communities. Ceremonies and rituals accompanied every major phase of the construction, from the initial sighting of the stars to the placement of the final capstone. Each block was set not just with mortar, but with intention, infused with a meaning that transcended its physical weight. This deep-seated, unifying purpose is what enabled ordinary people to achieve feats that appear superhuman through our modern, secular lens. They were not building a tomb, they were building a machine for resurrection and an anchor for cosmic order. This raises a compelling question that echoes across the globe. How did this same drive for celestial alignment and geometric perfection appear in pyramid cultures separated by vast oceans and millennia? The answer lies not in a single source, but in the shared human impulse to reach for the stars. Half a world away from the sands of Egypt, the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan rises from a Mexican valley with the same silent authority. Its builders, separated by an ocean and more than 1,000 years from the Egyptians, faced the same fundamental challenges and arrived at eerily similar solutions. Both cultures erected monumental pyramids aligned with breathtaking precision to celestial bodies. Both employed massive earthen ramps to lift stones skyward. And both cut and fitted their building blocks with a joint tolerance that speaks to a shared obsession with accuracy. This is not a story of one culture copying another, but of human minds independently grasping the same universal principles of mathematics, physics, and astronomy. Researchers like Graham Hancock have long pondered whether this points to a lost, global source of knowledge, a forgotten science from a much older age. While mainstream archaeology favors the theory of independent innovation, the parallels are too striking to ignore. They suggest that when humans seek to build on a colossal scale and connect with the cosmos, they inevitably discover the same truths about geometry, leverage, and the paths of the stars. The differences, however, are just as revealing. The Egyptians smoothed their pyramids into perfect geometric forms, while the Mesoamericans built towering stepped structures like the Temple of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza. These distinct shapes were not mistakes but brilliant adaptations. The Egyptians used abundant limestone to create smooth, sloping faces, ideal for their solar religion and the desert environment. The Maya and Aztecs, building in jungle regions with different stone and religious practices, created stepped pyramids that served as giant stairways to the heavens, their design perfectly suited for their rituals and the local materials. This global perspective forces a profound shift in how we view ancient ingenuity. It was not a single flash of genius in one river valley, but a recurring, almost inevitable flowering of human potential when certain conditions were met. The same drive to mirror the cosmos in stone, to achieve immortality through architecture, emerged time and again across the planet. If these cultures were truly working in isolation, then their collective achievements testify to something fundamental in the human spirit, a universal blueprint for greatness that lies dormant within us all. Such grand structures, however, did not vanish without a trace. The very tools used to create them were left behind, waiting in the dust for us to decipher their silent stories. A worker's copper chisel left behind in the sand 4,500 years ago speaks more loudly than any legend. These are not just artifacts, they are frozen moments in time, direct evidence of the hands that shaped history. Excavations around the Giza Plateau have uncovered entire tool kits, containing not only chisels but also cubit rods for measurement and simple wooden levels, proving that the builder's precision was achieved with tangible, physical tools. At the quarry of Aswan, an unfinished obelisk still lies in the bedrock, its surfaces scarred by the precise channels workers carved to free it, a textbook example of their stone-splitting technique preserved for eternity. Elsewhere, archaeologists have found remnants of the massive earthen ramps, their compacted clay and limestone chippings confirming the theories of how stones ascended to the sky. Perhaps most humanizing of all are the graffiti left by work crews, names like the Vigorous Gang or the Enduring Gang, scrawled on blocks they placed with pride. Egyptologist Zahi Hawass has used such finds to reconstruct the final dressing of stones right on the pyramid's rising courses. Workers would have carefully shaved the final millimeters off each block using abrasive sand and copper tools, ensuring that perfect fit as they built upwards course by course. These discoveries transformed the pyramid from an abstract wonder into a human story, a project managed by real people with team names and tools they could hold. But the most startling revelations are no longer coming from trowels and brushes alone. They are emerging from scans that see straight through the stone. How is modern technology rewriting the story of these ancient structures? Ground-penetrating radar and LiDAR, a technology that uses laser pulses to map surfaces in incredibly fine detail, are acting like X-ray vision for archaeologists. These tools have detected unexpected voids within the Great Pyramid, suggesting the possibility of chambers or internal structures that have been sealed since the day they were built. They have mapped entire lost cities near pyramid complexes, revealing sprawling urban centers that supported the grand construction projects. Each new scan peels back a layer of mystery, not to simplify the past, but to reveal its even greater sophistication. We are discovering that the pyramids are more complex, more layered, and more ingeniously engineered than we ever suspected. The conversation between the ancient and the modern has just begun, and every beep of a radar unit promises a new clue. This leaves us with a final, humbling thought. If our own technology is only now uncovering secrets they hid in plain sight, what does that say about the depth of their knowledge? Cosmic rays are now our guides into the heart of the pyramid. Scientists with the Scan Pyramids project deploy a technique called muon radiography, which captures these subatomic particles raining down from space. As muons pass through solid matter, they are absorbed at different rates, allowing detectors to map density variations inside a structure, just like a medical CT scan. This non-invasive method revealed the existence of the Big Void, a massive hidden chamber above the Grand Gallery in the Great Pyramid, a space untouched for thousands of years. This discovery was not made by breaking through walls, but by patiently collecting data, proving that the greatest secrets are still locked within the stone. Alongside this, drones equipped with high-resolution laser scanners create three-dimensional models of the pyramid's surface with millimeter accuracy. These digital twins reveal subtle patterns of erosion and tool marks, details completely invisible from the ground. The data confirms the astounding precision of the base, which is leveled to within just 2.1 centimeters across its entire 13-acre expanse. This fusion of particle physics and aerial mapping is not about replacing old theories, but about giving us new eyes. We can now test the internal ramp hypothesis or study stress distributions in a way that was pure fantasy just a generation ago. This technological dialogue forces us to ask a profound question. If our most advanced instruments are only now confirming the sophistication of their work, what other lessons are waiting to be decoded? The legacy of their engineering is not merely in the stones they left behind, but in the timeless principles they mastered. The echoes of those ancient chisels resonate in the steel and glass of our modern cities. Today's architects and engineers are looking back to the pyramids not as mere monuments, but as masterclasses in structural resilience. The very same interlocking block system that created those hairline joints is now a model for earthquake-resistant design. When seismic waves strike a modern building, rigid connections can cause it to snap, but a structure that allows for slight, controlled movement, much like the individual stones in the pyramid's core shifting minutely against each other, can dissipate that destructive energy and remain standing. This principle is being applied in the flexible joints of skyscrapers and the foundations of massive bridges, proving that 4,000-year-old solutions are solving 21st-century problems. This ancient legacy extends far beyond just physics. The organizational genius that managed a workforce of thousands without a single computer is the direct ancestor of modern project management. The system of standardized cubit rods, ensuring every block fit from any quarry, mirrors the international standards and quality control protocols that allow for the global construction of everything from smartphones to spacecraft. They perfected a supply chain that stretched across an entire nation to feed and house their workers, a logistical ballet we now see in just-in-time manufacturing and global shipping networks. The pyramid was not just a building project, it was a complex, long-term enterprise managed with an efficiency that would impress any modern CEO. Perhaps the most urgent lesson lies in their approach to sustainability. The pyramid builders were masters of using local materials. They quarried limestone right on the plateau, used desert clay for ramps, and mixed mortar from readily available gypsum. Their entire operation was powered by human energy and a deep understanding of their immediate environment, leaving a remarkably small carbon footprint for such a colossal achievement. In an age grappling with climate change, this offers a powerful blueprint. It challenges our reliance on shipping materials across the globe and on energy-intensive machinery, suggesting that true sustainability might mean looking to the resources and wisdom already at hand. So how do these ancient achievements truly compare to landing a rover on Mars or erecting a kilometer-tall tower? The comparison is not about declaring one superior to the other, but about recognizing a different kind of genius. Our modern feats are triumphs of powered technology, of synthetic materials and digital computation. Theirs was a triumph of optimized human skill, of profound observation, and of a design philosophy that sought harmony with the cosmos. The pyramids stand as a humbling reminder that human progress is not a straight, ever-ascending line. It is a spiral where we sometimes find the most advanced solutions by rediscovering the timeless principles of those who came before us. The idea of alien architects is a seductive shortcut, a way to explain the unexplainable, but this myth crumbles under the weight of simple evidence. It fundamentally underestimates the power of cumulative human knowledge passed down through generations. The quarries at Giza and Aswan are not silent, they are filled with the ghosts of that labor. We find the very stone dolerite hammers used to pound out trenches in granite, the abandoned copper chisels, and the half-finished obelisks that show every step of the process frozen in time. These are not the artifacts of a lost super science, but the tools of a highly organized and patient society. Experimental archaeologists like Bob Breyer have taken these very tools and, with teams of workers using replicated techniques, have successfully quarried and shaped multi-ton limestone blocks. The secret was not a magic crystal or anti-gravity device, but the relentless, rhythmic application of human force augmented by simple physics. They proved that with the right knowledge, the right organization, and enough time, the impossible becomes entirely achievable. This was not a sudden leap, but the pinnacle of a long, documented evolution in engineering, from the simple mastaba tombs of the first dynasties to the stepped pyramid of Djoser, and finally to the smooth-sided marvels at Giza. Each project was a learning experience, an incremental improvement in logistics, mathematics, and material science. The myth of a lost civilization or extraterrestrial intervention often stems from our own modern bias. We live in an age of rapid, powered technology, so we struggle to comprehend achievements built on the scale of decades and centuries, powered by coordinated human effort. We look for a machine where there was a system, for a secret code when the blueprint was written in the stars and the sand. Dismissing these structures as alien-built robs us of their true lesson. It ignores the profound ingenuity of our own ancestors. The real question is not who built them, but how ordinary people with extraordinary organization solved problems of a magnitude that still staggers the mind. What kind of thinking, what cognitive skills were required to envision such a project and see it through to completion across multiple human lifetimes? That mental blueprint, the ability to see a finished pyramid in the mind's eye before a single stone was cut, was their most powerful tool. Ancient engineers were not just following orders, they were solving a continuous stream of complex, three-dimensional puzzles. Imagine the challenge of calculating the exact volume of stone required for a structure that would eventually contain over 2 million blocks. They had no calculators, no spreadsheets. Instead, they used their deep, practical understanding of geometry, breaking the massive form down into manageable sections, estimating and refining their calculations as they built. This was geometry you could walk through, geometry that had to bear unimaginable weight. When a planned quarry ran short of high-quality limestone, they did not simply halt construction. They adapted, recalculating the entire material flow from a different quarry miles away, adjusting their logistics and workforce distribution on the fly. This required a flexible, resilient form of thinking, a cognitive agility that modern psychologists recognize as the hallmark of innovative problem-solving. These projects functioned like massive, long-term training grounds, fostering unprecedented levels of teamwork and communication. Crews with names like the Vigorous Gang had to coordinate their efforts with the precision of a modern engineering team, learning from each mistake and recording each success. Knowledge was not hoarded by a single master builder. It was shared and refined through practice, an iterative process of trial and error that was passed down from one generation of artisans to the next. They were building a collective intelligence as surely as they were building a pyramid. But how do you preserve such intricate, practical knowledge across centuries without a single, comprehensive instruction manual? The answer lies in a sophisticated system of education and notation that turned abstract ideas into lasting traditions. The precision of the pyramid was etched in ink long before it was carved in stone. Scribes, the human hard drives of the ancient world, meticulously documented every detail on papyrus scrolls. They recorded the daily output of quarries, the precise angles dictated by the seeked, and the celestial alignments observed by priests. This was not simple record-keeping. It was the creation of a living knowledge base, a repository of techniques and rituals that could be passed down and refined over generations. Formal education was the engine of this continuity. In schools attached to great temples, the elite sons of architects and priests were trained in a rigorous curriculum of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering. They studied from texts like the Rhind Papyrus, a mathematical handbook filled with problems on calculating slopes and volumes, the very problems they would solve on a colossal scale. This system ensured that the master builder's art was not lost when one generation passed, but was instead honed and improved. Each new pharaoh's project could learn from the mistakes and triumphs of the last, creating a cumulative technological ascent that spanned centuries. The written word transformed individual brilliance into an institutional science. It allowed a chief architect in Memphis to send a set of standardized plans to a quarry foreman in Aswan, confident that the instructions would be understood and executed with absolute consistency. This emphasis on literacy and training was the invisible framework that prevented a project of unimaginable complexity from descending into chaos. It guaranteed that the geometric principles conceived in a quiet temple school would be perfectly manifested in a 13-acre stone footprint. But such a grand, human-driven system did not exist in a vacuum. The very shape of the land and the rhythm of the climate dictated the terms of their ambition. How did the relentless sun and the life-giving Nile directly shape the pyramid's design? The desert wind was both a sculptor and a destroyer. Ancient builders did not fight this environment, they listened to it. Their first and most critical decision was location. They chose high limestone plateaus not for the view but for the foundation. This bedrock was a natural slab, stable and resistant to shifting, capable of supporting millions of tons of stone without sinking. Proximity to the Nile was equally vital. The river was their highway. Barges heavy with granite from Aswan and limestone from Tura could float these colossal blocks right to the edge of the construction site, turning an impossible land journey into a manageable water route. The dry desert air itself became a tool. It preserved wooden sleds and tools from rot and kept the mud-brick ramps from dissolving into mud, effectively acting as a giant, natural dehydrator that protected their entire logistical operation. Even the local stone dictated design. The abundant, softer limestone formed the pyramid's core, while a precious layer of fine, white Tura limestone was reserved for the brilliant outer casing. This casing was more than just beauty. Its tightly fitted, smooth surface was engineered to withstand the very wind and sand that would have rapidly eroded a rough, stepped structure. Geologists studying the Giza Plateau have found evidence that the builders even understood the water table. They designed foundations and chambers to sit just above the natural water level, preventing moisture from undermining the structure over centuries. This was not luck, it was a deep, observational science of place. They were not imposing their will on the landscape, but weaving their creation into its very fabric, using what the land offered to solve problems they knew would come. This intimate dance with nature minimized waste and maximized efficiency, a form of sustainable engineering practiced millennia before the word was coined. But such a harmonious, large-scale operation demanded more than just smart location scouting. How could they ensure that every one of the 2 million blocks, sourced from different quarries and shaped by different crews, met the same impossible standard of perfection? Every single stone had to prove its worth before it could join the pyramid's rising form. Overseers patrolled the construction site with their most trusted tools, standardized wooden templates carved to the exact dimensions of the cubit. A worker would present a newly shaped block, and the template would be laid against its surface. If a gap was visible, or if the stone was even a finger's breadth too large, it was not simply forced into place. It was rejected, sent back to the workmen to be ground down with abrasive sand until it matched the master profile perfectly. This was a system of relentless quality control, a continuous feedback loop that ensured consistency across thousands of workers and millions of blocks. For checking a level surface, they used a brilliantly simple method involving water and sand. They would pour a thin layer of wet sand onto a flat stone table, a known reference surface, and then carefully place the block to be tested on top of it. After lifting the block, they would examine the impression in the sand. An uneven surface would leave a patchy, inconsistent mark, while a perfectly flat one would create a uniform imprint, proving the block was true. Angles were verified by casting shadows from a vertical gnomon, a simple pole, at specific times of day, using the sun's consistent arc as a natural protractor. We see evidence of this commitment even in their mistakes. At the bent pyramid built by Sneferu, the angle of the sides was changed midway through construction, likely because the initial slope was too steep and threatened the structure's stability. This was not a failure, but a demonstration of their adaptive precision. They recoursed the lower layers, recalculated the seat, and completed the pyramid with a shallower angle, proving their willingness to correct course to achieve perfection. This obsessive attention to detail was not just about avoiding a collapse. It was a physical manifestation of their core belief in Maat, the cosmic principle of order, truth, and balance. A sloppy joint was a lie in stone, a crack in universal harmony. The perfect fit of every block was a prayer, a deliberate act of creating order out of chaos, ensuring the pharaoh's path to the stars remained straight and true. So if the very stones were prayers, what deeper cosmic language was being spoken through the pyramid's ultimate, sacred shape? A perfect joint was more than a construction detail. It was a theological statement. The ancient builders believed that by creating a structure of flawless geometric harmony on Earth, they were establishing a direct conduit to the celestial order of the heavens. This was the true engine behind their obsessive precision. Every aspect of the pyramid, from its stellar alignments to its encoded mathematical ratios, was saturated with spiritual meaning. The precise slope of the sides was not arbitrary. It was designed to mirror the descending rays of the sun god Ra, creating a ramp of light upon which the deceased pharaoh could ascend. The entire monument was a machine for resurrection, its flawless form believed to generate the spiritual energy required for the king's transformation into an eternal star. Scholars like Mircea Eliade described this as the principle of hierophany, where a sacred space is created to manifest the divine in the material world. For the builders, a misaligned corner or an inaccurate angle was not a simple engineering flaw. It was a failed ritual, a broken link in the chain connecting the human realm to the cosmic one. This profound symbolic imperative drove them to achieve a level of accuracy that was simultaneously a scientific and a spiritual triumph. The pyramid was a battery for cosmic power, and its precision was the switch that turned it on. This symbolic language of sacred geometry did not vanish with the last pyramid builders. Its echoes can be traced through history, appearing in the precise proportions of Greek temples dedicated to their gods, in the cosmic blueprints of Gothic cathedrals whose soaring vaults were meant to draw the eye and the soul heavenward, and even in the layouts of Renaissance cities planned according to harmonic ratios. These later cultures, often separated by vast distances and centuries from ancient Egypt, intuitively grasped the same fundamental idea that number, shape, and alignment could bridge the gap between the earthly and the divine. The quest to build in harmony with the universe appears to be a recurring theme in human history, a silent conversation between our world and the stars, written in stone and whispered through the ages. That sacred geometric language carved into the Giza Plateau did not fade into silence. It echoed through the ages, whispering its secrets to the master builders of later empires. Centuries later, an architect designing the Roman Pantheon would grapple with the same fundamental challenge the Egyptians had solved: how to create a vast, open space that could support its own immense weight. The Pantheon's magnificent dome is a direct descendant of pyramidal thinking, a brilliant application of step-by-step load distribution and geometric precision. Its coffered ceiling is not merely decorative, it lightens the structure while maintaining its strength, a sophisticated evolution of the same principles of balance and weight management seen in the corbelled ceilings of the Great Pyramid's inner chambers. The Romans, like the Egyptians, understood that stability was born from perfect form. This thread of influence weaves through the stone lacework of Gothic cathedrals. When the builders of Chartres or Notre Dame aimed their vaults heavenward, they were pursuing the same celestial harmony, using pointed arches and flying buttresses to channel gravitational forces down to the earth with an efficiency that would have made an Egyptian engineer nod in approval. These were the pyramids of their age, reaching for the stars with a new vocabulary but the same ancient grammar of mathematics and physics. Historians have documented how Renaissance thinkers, poring over rediscovered classical texts that themselves referenced Egyptian knowledge, ignited a revival of this sacred geometry. They saw in these proportions a divine blueprint, and they applied it to their own cathedrals, palaces, and public squares, believing they were restoring a lost cosmic order to the world. The legacy is not confined to the ancient and medieval worlds. Look at the sleek, triangular facets of the Louvre Pyramid in Paris or the impossibly stable, geometric form of the Transamerica Pyramid in San Francisco. These modern landmarks are conscious and unconscious homages to the same timeless principles of stability and symbolic power. The use of triangular trusses in bridges and the pyramidal shape of many earthquake-resistant foundations are direct applications of this ancient, distributed load logic. The forgotten science of the pyramid builders did not vanish. It simply went underground, resurfacing again and again whenever humanity sought to build structures that were meant to endure. This continuity across thousands of years forces a humbling realization. Our greatest architectural achievements are not isolated triumphs, but conversations held in stone across the centuries. So what mysteries remain locked within the very stones that started this conversation, waiting for our technology and our curiosity to finally set them free? Even with our most advanced tools, the pyramids guard their deepest secrets with a silent, stubborn pride. Researchers can map a hidden void with cosmic rays, but they still cannot explain how the builders achieved the laser-like alignment of the king's chamber's walls, a precision that remains a benchmark for modern stonework. The purpose of the intricate, narrow shafts that snake from the royal chambers toward the sky continues to fuel intense debate. Were they strictly celestial pathways for the soul, or did they serve a more complex, perhaps even acoustic, function that we have yet to comprehend? The surfaces of the granite sarcophagi, polished to a reflective, almost metallic sheen, present another riddle. We understand the theory of using abrasive sand, but replicating that flawless, mirror-like finish on hard granite with primitive tools has proven far more difficult in practice than it sounds. These are not just gaps in our knowledge, they are chasms. Each new discovery, like the big void detected in the Great Pyramid, does not provide a simple answer. Instead, it multiplies the questions, forcing us to reconsider the very complexity of these structures. It is a humbling reminder that for all our scanning and modeling, the ancient world still holds narratives we have not yet learned to read. This ongoing quest, fueled by both technology and timeless curiosity, ensures that the story of the pyramids is far from over. It is a living dialogue between the past and the present. And as we stand at the threshold of this accumulated wisdom, we are compelled to ask, what practical truths can we carry forward from these stone teachers into our own modern world? We have traced the path from celestial alignments to the quarries where ordinary hands carved cosmic ambition into stone. The forgotten science of the pyramids is not a single lost device, but a symphony of disciplines, a testament to what humanity can achieve when culture, curiosity, and intellect converge. It was not magic that raised these stones, but a profound understanding of geometry, a mastery of simple tools, and a society unified by a sacred purpose that turned monumental challenges into timeless triumphs. This legacy asks us to look beyond the sheer scale of the structures and recognize the deeper principles they embody. Their approach to sustainability, using local materials and human-powered logistics, offers a powerful contrast to our energy-intensive methods. Their model of meticulous quality control and coordinated labor, managing thousands without digital aids, remains a blueprint for complex project management. As you encounter ancient wonders, whether in photos or in person, see them not as static relics, but as conversations with our collective past. Consider how their lessons in resilience, precision, and harmonious design could inspire the cities and innovations of our future. Which of their enduring mysteries captures your imagination the most? Is it the hidden chambers still awaiting discovery, the celestial codes locked in the shafts, or the sheer human spirit that made it all possible? Share your thoughts below, and if you are driven to uncover more of history's hidden truths, subscribe to continue this journey with us. Carry forward the wonder of these marvels, and remember that the greatest discoveries often lie in learning what we have forgotten.